Hello, and welcome to this first example of a word problem in systems of equations. If we read through the problem quickly, it says a group of friends at a concert bought hamburgers and hot dogs. Hamburgers cost $2 each and hot dogs cost $1.50 each. In total they spent $14.50. If they bought a total of 8 items, how many were burgers and how many were hot dogs? Okay, so let's refer to the steps that we have in our notes. And the first thing that the steps tells you to do is to identify the two unknowns. For that, read the last part of the question very carefully. How many were burgers and how many were hot dogs? So in other words, for step 1, that last little piece in this question tells us what the two unknowns are. How many were burgers? So let's say the two unknowns are the number of burgers that were bought and the number of hot dogs. Okay, so we have our two unknowns. Now, write down clearly what each of the variables will stand for. Well, let's, instead of using x and y, let's use variables that actually mean something in this context. So let's say we use b for the number of burgers that are bought and d for the number of hot dogs that are bought. If we use h, we'll get confused between hot dogs and hamburgers. So let's use b for burgers and d for dogs. And again, we are trying to be precise in what we say. We're not saying just b equals burgers and d equals hot dogs, because then we'll get confused as to whether that means the number of burgers, the cost of burgers. So we try and be as precise as possible in defining these variables. Okay, so step 2 is next. And step 2, again, if you refer back to your notes, says use the information given in the question to write down two equations that each involve both variables. Very often, but not always, each sentence in the problem can be turned into an equation. So if we look, the first sentence is just introducing the problem, but the second sentence, hamburgers cost $2 each and hot dogs cost $1.50 each. That would tell you that there's some equation that you can make that has to do with cost. If the burgers cost $2 each, remember burgers are b, so burgers cost $2, we can make that 2b. Hot dogs cost $1.50 each, so for the dogs we can do $1.50 for the dogs. Okay, so in total, 150d, and in total they spent $14.50. So the total cost is $14.50. Okay? So the burgers were $2 each. So we're going to use 2b for the cost of burgers and $1.50 for the hot dogs. So we're saying that they spent $1.50 times d on burgers, and the total amount they spent is $14.50. The other piece of this equation, or the piece of this problem that tells us something, is just the very last line. They bought a total of 8 items. Okay, so the total number is 8 items. Well, how do you get that total number? It must be the number of burgers, which is b, plus the number of hot dogs, which is d, and that's going to be equal to 8. Okay. So those are our two equations. We've now got two equations, one for cost and one for the total number of food items that were bought. Step 3 says, once the two equations are written, use your preferred method, which is usually substitution or elimination, to find each of the variables. So I guess we have to look for what our method is going to be here. And the key is that if any of the variables, we've got 2b, $1.50d, 1b, and 1d. If any of those variables have a 1 in front of them, then substitution is an excellent method. So because both the b and the d in the second equation have a 1 in front of them, we're going to use substitution. I don't know if you remember substitution, but we're going to go through it here quickly. If you need a refresher on it, then feel free to go back and look up the section on substitution. So you start with the equation in which one of the variables is a 1 in front of it. So we're going to start with b plus d equals 8. And what we'll try and do is get either one of those variables on its own. Okay, it doesn't matter whether we go for the b on its own or the d on its own in this case, because they both have 1s. We're trying to get a variable that has a 1 in front of it on its own. So I'll take the d across. Okay, I'll take the d across. It doesn't really matter. But if you do that, you get b is equal to 8 minus d. And now the d is on its own, and we can sort of fence that off and label that as equation A. Okay, so you stop when you get one of the variables on its own. And now what we'll do is we'll return to the other equation, the equation we haven't used yet. So let's say 2b plus $1.50d is equal to 14.50. And now look at equation A. We've got b on its own, which means we're going to substitute this in here. Okay, we're going to substitute for that b. Okay, so we're going to replace this b and write instead 2 times b is now 8 minus d. 2 times 8 minus d, then we have plus 150d is equal to 1450. 2 times 8, just do our distribution here. I'm going to distribute here, so 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times negative d is negative 2d, plus 1.5, now we can change it to 1.5d at this point, is equal to 14.50. Okay, now what we would like to do is to get numbers on one side, letters on the other. So we'll take this 16 and we'll bring it across to the other side, and that will leave you with negative 2d plus 1.5d is equal to 14.5, take away 16. Now negative 2 plus 1.5 is negative 0.5d, and 14.5 minus 16 is minus 1.5. If we want to get d on its own, we're going to have to divide both sides by negative 0.5. So just doing that old familiar problem here. Divided by negative 0.5, and that will give you negative 0.5d divided by negative 0.5 is equal to negative 1.5 divided by negative 0.5. Negative 0.5's cancel, that's d. Minus over minus is a plus, and 1.5 divided by 0.5 is 3. Okay. Now, what does that tell us? D equals 3. Go back to where you started this problem. The number of hot dogs bought, D, and I say D is 3. So there were 3 hot dogs bought. And in this case, because there were only 8 items bought altogether, it's pretty easy to say what how many burgers were bought, but let's just finish that off. And what you would do is you would take this answer and bring it all the way back to equation A, where you had b is equal to 8 minus d, and now you're saying that b is equal to 8 minus 3, and b is equal to 8 minus 3 is 5. Now, the last step is to answer the question as it was originally stated. So step 4 is to finish and answer the question. And the question said, if they bought a total of 8 items, and many were burgers, and how many were hot dogs? So B is the number of burgers, but that's 5. I can just scroll down here. So they bought 5 burgers and 3 hot dogs. And that's it. Alright, thank you.